recording started. Oh, it's kicked everyone out. Sorry about that. You'll have to come back on. And we'll get started. Okay. Right. Hopefully you can all see the share again. It's all kicked you out on the cameras and the microphones because of the recording. Someone can just give me a wave so you can see it. Morning, Richard. Excellent. Great.
Morning.
Okay, brilliant. Hi, Maria. Great to see you. Right, I'll get started. I've got to finish at 11:30 today because there's something that I need to go to that's come up at short notice, but hopefully you'll find this of use. So, and whoever is letting everyone in, thank you very much for that. I don't know if it's Richard or Caroline, but whoever it is, thank you for that. Okay, so quite a few of you may or may not have been at the ICE Apprenticeships conference last month. So there was something that came up there that I thought actually would be a good topic to do this month. It was something that came up on several occasions. So I'll do a quick check moment, but off-the-job training and the understanding of the timelines around apprenticeships, I actually thought would make a really good discussion point just before Christmas. So hopefully this is going to make sense. I'll run through, we shared some timelines at the conference, but what I wanted to do is I think I've shared my interpretation of the timelines in the past, but I was thinking about it after the conference, and I think there's something I wanted to be clearer on for some of the questions that came out of it, which will hopefully inform the discussion. Okay, so I'll do this very quickly. Work-life balance. I've been meaning to share this at some point throughout the year, but I don't know if we've got any, I can't quite see if we've got any apprentices on, but I was trying to think around actually what's life like for an apprentice? And roughly, this won't cover everybody, but roughly, I think I've got this right. So September, typically everyone starts, and we've also got mock interviews for any sort of autumn professional reviews. And if they're then doing their mocks in September, they'll be sitting in October. For the final year students, it probably gets to about November, at which point they abandon pretty much everything up for their dissertation. So for those in the different years, so come November, certainly for me, I think the last 3-4 years when we've had apprentices doing dissertations, it's got to the same, and because of workload, they've had to pause everything else. December, as businesses, we've got our year-end goals. So certainly I've been doing that over the last few weeks. Is chasing everybody up, have you done those? And then we all say to take a break, but it is really important because hopefully you'll see in a second, then it's exams in January, so it doesn't really stop up. What I've seen with some of the universities is there's usually a window at the back end of February, I think it is, where the apprentices get a chance to actually catch up on professional development, or there's a week or two where they actually get a break. Josh, excellent, you've come out, just spotted you. March, again, if they're in the final year, dissertations are due. April, May, I think every year they have exams as well. June, before next year starts, if you were preparing for your autumn reviews, you'd be doing your submissions in June, July. And then actually over the summer, you might try to get a holiday in, but also then quite often what we see is apprentices catching up on professional development, finishing reports for professional reviews, for EPAs. So I suppose what I was trying to get at is when you look at that, life as an apprentice, there's not really many gaps every year. It's pretty much go, go, go the whole time for them. And it's something I've certainly had to, as a line manager, be very conscious of, is that these apprentices, every part of the year, whatever it is, there's something always going on for them. And I can see, I think we've got James, who's a brand new apprentice. So I don't want to scare you, James. He only started in September. But I don't know, Josh, you finished your degree this summer. Would you say that's a fair reflection from what you had? Is it pretty much every month of the year for 5-6 years there's something on?
In playing, yeah. Yeah. It's just like the worst thing is like people think how it's a break, like they're off, but you're not actually off. Because when it comes to actual project work, which is at the end of the day, that's what your employee does, like doing work, but then uni work, I think people put off how actually much there is.
Mm-hmm.
Like in year 5 is probably the worst for it, just ramps up year on year, and then year 5 is probably the most stressed I got throughout the whole of uni.
Because you're the most useful, and you're expected to be signing off all your attributes, and you've got a dissertation.
That's what I've tried to say to like the other people at work. like dissertation, just try and set time aside like you need it, because at the end of the day, if you fail uni, it's you's affected, no one else.
Thanks,
It's
Josh. And
just it's trying to balance everything. It's hard.
agreed. And well done again, Josh, for passing your degree in the summer. Well done.
It took long enough.
Thanks, Josh. Right, I'll quickly crack on, but thank you for that. Okay, so off the job training. There was a few questions that came up, and some of you may remember some of the discussions we had about timelines. So follow me with this. Hopefully it makes sense. So I thought I wrote this, I think about a week ago, and then I think they updated the rules less than a week ago. So I think we're on revision 3 now for the funding rules, but this shouldn't be too far off. So what do the rules actually say around apprenticeships and around off-the-job training? So there are a minimum number of hours published, but it can be more. So just because it says minimum, you can do more. I think we're all comfortable with that. There was a piece in there just clarifying around no longer a distinction between full-time and part-time apprentices. I've got to be honest, I've never really affected what I've been doing, but I thought it's just worth being aware of for some. The provider must consider working hours so that the training expectations are realistic. So I think that's a key thing. That was quite nice to read. Actually, these do have to be realistic hours. So again, thinking about the apprentices, how do they fit this in? But it is in there, word for word, with the rules. And that the provider is ultimately responsible for the delivery of all off-the-job training. Note that. I'll come back to that. I think that's part of where this discussion went. And a key part again there is it's the learning end date can only be recorded irrespective of who has delivered the training. So I think this was a big part of that discussion was, is off-the-job training just delivered by providers in universities or colleges, or can off-the-job training also be delivered by employers? That's kind of where I was going with this, and I thought I'll look into it just so we can try and get an actual answer out of it. So again, I think we've talked about this. There's quite a clear and I think a really helpful list of what is included in off-the-job training. So that's really useful. Teaching, practical training, learning support, writing assignments is always key in revision. Great. What can't be included, again, very clear. Can't include progress reviews, anything that doesn't contribute towards the standard, anything that takes place outside of normal working hours. So for that, that's really clear for me. That's really helpful. This was something I think we shared about a year ago. Maybe we looked at this. It's something I hadn't discovered until June 25. That was it. So there was a guidance document that DFE, that the government had produced, which actually showed what that timeline looked like. So I think again this was part of the discussion that we all ended up. I think every year we have the same discussion, don't we, around timelines and dates and durations and when should an apprentice pass through the gateway. So that was just a reminder of what's in the official off-the-job training guidance. So end date of the practical period is end of the training. Okay. So I also found, which I thought was quite useful, a myths and facts document. So I can share these links in the document. Again, it's a government website, a government link. I hadn't found it, so I went looking for it. So if you don't know it's there, you may never go looking for it. There's only about five items on there, but the one that I thought was really relevant is this. Off-the-job training must be delivered by a provider in a classroom at an external location. That's the myth, but the fact is, this is not true. Off-the-job training can be delivered in a flexible way, and it can be at the apprentice's usual place of work. So I thought actually, considering some of the discussions we had and we've had for, I don't know, however many years about this, it was quite nice to actually find that myth versus fact, that it's quite clear now it's there. It's not just off-the-job training is not just what's delivered by the provider in a classroom. It's not true. So I thought actually that kind of helps a lot of these discussions. Feel free if anybody wants to jump in. Any comments on that, but for me that was actually really helpful. It kind of helped the age-old discussions. So then I got thinking, how does this, maybe I didn't articulate my timeline, so I thought I'll go back over these and just share these, and I'll pause for a moment in a couple of minutes. So this was where, I think you've all seen this, I probably all bored you to death. This was my non-integrated civil engineering degree timeline for me. This is what I've always worked to. This is what Josh, for example, we've been working to since I think day one of his degree apprenticeship. This was the one that I sort of drafted, thinking for the non-integrated, and it got me thinking actually maybe I could maybe when we're having this discussion around the timelines, around how long are the providers allowing for that part-time qualification and how does it fit in with the EPA, I thought actually maybe I need to be clearer how I see it to maybe help others to try and understand it. Because there was a couple of questions. So I came up with this. It's a slight tweak, but again, going back to that myths versus facts, that green bit in the middle, off-the-job training is not just about with the providers. So I'm going to stop here. It's open for a discussion. I'd love to know what others feel and think. But for me, trying to think how are we going to deliver these integrated apprenticeships, noting that, again, Gateway doesn't change until the apprentice is working at or above the standard. How are we going to achieve that between us all? So in my head, and I'm totally open to being shot down, told this is a load of rubbish and it's a terrible idea, but it could be that we have those 4 or 5 years to the left where it's a part-time qualification. And then maybe there is this period of green, which includes off-the-job training and that practical period down the bottom, where maybe it is with us more as the employers, that it's on us to deliver the majority of the off-the-job training during that period until the apprentice gets that dashed black line and they are ready to pass Gateway. And then it's almost they can restart at the provider. I'm going to stop there. I'm open to getting a kick in, whatever everybody wants. Anybody got any comments? But I thought this might be quite a good one to have a chat around. So any thoughts? Oh, who's up first? Anyone? Maria, go for it.
I always thought, and I've been doing this a long time, that when we were doing the apprenticeships, that you were actually, part of it was meeting the KSBs outside term time, as they would call it. But there was never no fast and set rule, if that made sense. But there were certain, when you look at the knowledge, skills and behaviours, it would be impossible for academia to meet some of them.
Agreed.
And we were meeting them the whole way along, because that's what I thought we were signing off. So if I'm wrong, if you're right, and I've been doing it wrong all this time.
No. I think we're totally agreed. It's always been a joint between us. I think generally I always saw it that like knowledge was generally through the part-time qualification. I think the skills is part through with the providers, part of the employers, but absolutely the behaviours I've always seen with us. So you're not wrong at all. I think you've been getting it spot on.
Yeah.
It's just how do you get with these, like condensing some of the timelines, because it was so yeah, no, you're absolutely not wrong.
Do you think though that some of the knowledge and skills can happen in business as well?
Agreed.
Not, it shouldn't just be the behaviours, because no disrespect to the providers, but sometimes what we can offer learning on the job is more up to date sometimes than what may be, that's academia. Putting it into practice is always a great tool for learning.
Agreed. There's no set, the best, those sort of guidance bits I could find. The one thing that's always been is and I think the reason we end up having a lot of these discussions is because there is a big grey area in the middle. There's no sort of clear guidance on who does what, and it is supposed to be between all three of us. But I just thought, having looked at the integrated model, I can't see a way where if some of these part-time qualifications are being, how it's being put together, I think there is going to be that period that it's very much down to us as the employers to lead on that off-the-job training. But I don't know how. I mean, I'd love to get a provider thought on that, because it was actually a couple of providers at the conference that I was chatting to about this. How do you deliver that? It must be quite alien to them and quite, I don't know, scary almost to think there's that pause in the middle. I don't know if Ed or Carlos, or I'm trying to see who else we've got. Danny, anybody like that has got any thoughts on it? It's out there to be shot down. I just thought this is the discussion that maybe helps us.
Putting stuff in the chat that you might not see, just by the way.
Oh, thank you for that. No, I haven't seen that. Let me have a quick look. Caroline, definitely watch this space. Ed, will ING assessment change then? I guess we'll watch this space. Are you back? Ed, are you back? Oh, he's taking his headphones off. If anyone's near him, can you nudge him? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on what else is in the chat. Discussion with Skills England. Does anyone know anything about changes in rules removing the need for EPA? No idea at the moment. Caroline, I mean, I can see you're back on. Have you got any comments, or do you think my timeline is
fair to
terrible?
say it's all in discussion at the moment. Nobody actually knows what it's going to look like, which 3 pots it's going to fit in. It's a case of Skills England has put together a construction skills task force to look at it, because there are serious issues with the Building Safety Act. So the timescales for any of these revisions to assessment are going to be decided in the new year, I guess, Colin. And we don't know what the solutions are yet. But I think Ed said, will IEng assessment change? I think it's fair to say IEng assessment is regulated by the Engineering Council. It's whether that is part of the apprenticeship going forward or not. But the KSBs are IEng. And that's what will be delivered, because the KSBs are not changing, just the form of assessment. Does that help everyone?
It seems to answer a lot of things in the chat, I think. Trying to see if I can write something to get Ed's attention. Are there any other comments then? Maybe it's not that controversial, and maybe having that gap where almost the apprentice then doesn't have a part-time qualification. They're not going to uni or college. That green bit in the middle, maybe it's not that scary or controversial after all. Oh, Gareth, I didn't see you. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good idea having the green bit there. I think if the assessment changes, the apprenticeship assessment changes so that the employers are assessing the behaviours, that green section could perhaps allot a space within the apprenticeship.
It seemed to make sense to me, and the only thing I'd have thought, I'm conscious, from lots of people from your side have given me feedback around costs, and actually looking at it, apart from the requirement for every 12 weeks still to maintain the 12 weekly reviews, during that period, I couldn't see what else you'd necessarily be required to do. And we're a key part of this, so we should be doing our part. As Maria said, we can deliver so much of the KSBs as the employer. We should be doing our part of this as well as the agreement. So that's good. Thanks, Gareth.
Thanks.
Carlos?
Thank you, Colin, and hello. 100% agree with you. I think ideally this should be a collaborative, collective, joint effort between the academia and the professional environment. Because at the end of the day, they are going to be interviewed about their professional competence. And the more we can track, the more we can monitor that they are delivering all the knowledge, all the skills. Obviously, it depends on the nature of every university. I always say that I'm proud to work at LSVU, thinking that it's quite a hands-on university. So we are able to deliver that knowledge, and they are able to practice as well. So they are delivering the skills. We can support with behaviors. We are able to produce that timeline of a steady development of every apprentice. That green part, obviously, you are going to have, guys, all our support. There will be skills reviews, and whatever we can put from our side, we'll push for that. But at the end of the day, it has to be a joint effort. Otherwise, I really think it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Agreed. And I've just put nominally, I've used the 5 years for the orange to the left of that, but I know with some of your programs you are looking at 4, so the same kind of principle still applies. I'm glad it seems like it's not that not too ridiculous. My green slot in the middle. Maybe I just didn't articulate it, but it seems like between us all trying to find a sensible way through, that maybe it is going to be this part-time qualification. Employer needs to lead off the job training. Then we get through gateway, and then it's back to it's not even really the providers that lead that EPA, is it? It's more of that is maybe more of a joint effort. I'm just trying to think who's involved in that. Maybe it isn't that radical. It's great. Thanks, Carlos. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah. No, and just following up what you said, because it's absolutely right. We need to be realistic. We are talking about human beings. Some of them will be super ready after 5 years. Some of them will need 5 years and a half. It depends on so many things. Capability, ambition, support. I mean, we are putting so many variables that thinking that a cohort is going to finish in 5 years and say that cohort is 50 apprentices and all of them are going to go at the same time through the process of the APA is absolutely unrealistic. So I really think that gap you are putting there in green is what the reality is going to be at the end of the day.
Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate that. And I'm guessing from Richard, and I think I saw John Hall on here as well. I'm guessing from professional institutions' point of view that doesn't change or affect the point at which they're going to apply for any professional accreditation later on, assuming that everything else is in place. So I'm guessing this makes no difference to ICE, CIHT, or anybody else. It's still just getting to that point, as Caroline said, achieving all the KSBs that then align with IEng or whatever the relevant professional accreditation is.
Currently, Colin, as Caroline alluded to earlier, said it may all change, but currently, once they are deemed to be competent at all aspects, except the degree are complete, then they come forward to EPA. And I think the only thing that isn't covered by the KSBs for IEng under the integrated degree is demonstration of ICE's code of conduct and how they engage with the ICE. So it'd be the same for CIHT, I would expect as well, but everything else falls into place.
Fab. Thanks, Richard. And I've seen, go for it, John.
Yeah, no, just reiterating what Richard was saying, but from our understanding as well is there's a few questions in the chat, and I think just correct me if I'm wrong, Caroline, as I understand it, the term EPA is changing, being replaced with apprenticeship assessment, and endpoint assessment organizations become assessment organizations because the model itself is changing. So instead of one big assessment right at the end, the rules allow for sort of micro assessments throughout the program, which is the shift away from the EPA only. So learning providers can design and mark their own assessment elements rather than everything being done externally at the end, and employers will assess behaviors, and then not all apprentices, as far as I understand, will be assessed. There will be some, what's the term they use, Caroline? Help me out. Sampling. Yeah, exactly. So I mean that's obviously the concern from our side, but of course people still have to pass a professional review from our side, but of course the ICE are bigger and have many more apprenticeship standards than CIHT do. Caroline, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I think those things are within the right of the assessment organisation to design that. So people will need to design it to the assessment organisation requirements. So it is what the assessment organisation says is viable within that apprenticeship assessment. So whether they say sampling is allowed, whether they say, on-programme assessment is required and so on. So there's a lot of unanswered questions at the moment about new assessment reform. And I don't think Skills England has got all the answers yet either. It literally has announced it with very little detail from an employer and provider perspective. And Ofqual is still carrying out its own consultation, which will be finished in spring. So even then, we haven't got all the answers to what assessment will look like in the future. So it's a bear with us. There's a lot of hype around it. I think it's fair to say, what will be, will be.
And bless you, Caroline, you've got 6 to review by March.
No, we're not going by March. We are refusing to do it by March.
Good for you.
The Skills England is pulling together an assessment task force for construction because of the the complexities with the Building Safety Act. And in fact, yesterday,
Good.
the building regulator came out and said there may well be a new building regulator which will look at all occupations under it. I'll put that in the chat actually, because I think that one is going to be the overarching thing going forward, to say what competencies and how we then define an apprenticeship assessment against that new framework. That may or may not be professionalism, but it will need to comply with that going forward. Again, that is up for consultation as well. So lots of unknowns at the moment.
Underlying everything is so fluid. Yeah.
If it does help, I mean, I know there is all this change. It is, there's 3 different timelines I've messed around with there. This is just for one individual apprenticeship, and there's however many hundreds of them. I'm still sticking to, as an SCE with a trainee, I do some of my assessments during their training. So for me, actually, some of this during the qualification, is it really that different from us as SCEs? You assess your apprentices or your trainees at the different levels anyway. You don't just wait till the end before they say they're ready. So I'm still going to stick with the approach to the professional bodies, stick with their training. It seems to be the most solid thing. And I know we've got at least one apprentice on here, James, who's not a civil engineer, but everything we've discussed here is the same. Everything is still the principles of assessment is going to stay the same. It doesn't really matter what which apprenticeship you go in. There's still going to be professional bodies you can align with, whatever your discipline is. But yeah, hopefully we'll find out more in the new year. So has anyone else got any comments on that? Wants to add anything? Thanks for sharing that, Caroline, in the chat. So yeah, these were some of the options that I thought you might have come up with. Ridiculous, that's not come up, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Completely wrong, that's pretty good. So that was it really for this one. It was going to be a very short half-an-hour one. I've got to shoot off with Caroline very shortly to something else. For the if there is any questions, anybody's got anything that they wanted to ask just before we go? Anybody got any problems they wanted to share? Nope. Okay, if anybody does want to, please feel free to reach out afterwards. I'll set up in the new year. I'll set up a new meeting invite for those of you who have been here since the start. Every so often it gets too big, it goes random and breaks. So I'll send out a new one in the new year, and I'll try and share some pieces on LinkedIn as well to try and get the right people invited. Thank you to everyone that keeps coming back and supporting this. I really do appreciate that. And oh, sorry, Malcolm's going to kill me, isn't he? He's going to think we're all leaving just because he's joined. And thank you for everybody who does ask questions. It's still amazing the amount of people that ask questions. Just even in between these, especially just so you guys know, what you do contributes towards supporting the apprentices that you probably don't hear from, but listen back to these and do ask questions off the back of it. So there are apprentices, line managers who from this discussion take a lot out of it. So thank you for that. I'll stop sharing now, and I'll let you all go. Have a great Christmas, and I'll send out new invites in the year. Lovely to see you all. Yeah, and get a break. Think about that work-life balance. All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good Christmas, everyone.
Colin,
Thanks,
thanks so
Colin.
much. Take
See ya.
care.
Bye.
Happy Christmas, everybody. Bye.
Thanks,
Happy
Colin.
Christmas. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Colin.
No worries.
Totally missed that, Colin.